Time now to round up a big topic from the week. A same-sex couple here in Texas is fighting for their right to stay married. Our Roundup panel is weighing in on this issue right now. Sarah Goodfriend and Suzanne Bryant were married on Thursday in Austin. But in a 51-page motion filed with the state's Supreme Court, the state argues that the district court judge who ordered the same-sex marriage licenses abused his power.
The Attorney General will have to examine his own conscience about how he wants to address the fact that not only do we believe we have a legally valid marriage, we are married in the eyes of our God.
Our daily life at home won't change that much, but we're on the back of the bus, and we don't quite get all of the rights and responsibilities of marriage unless our marriage is recognized.
The U.S. Supreme Court is expected to rule on the constitutionality of same-sex marriage bans later this year. So was the district court judge out of line in issuing the license? That's our topic this half hour. We want to hear from you on our Fox 26 Facebook page. You can also weigh in on Twitter. Be sure to use the hashtag Fox26forlife. Joining us live in the newsroom is our Roundup panel. It's led by our Fox 26 senior legal analyst, Chris Tritico, our news analyst, Mustafa Tamiz, and public policy analyst, Jackie Bally, also there. Good to see you guys again.
Good morning.
So there's a lot of mixed messages being tossed around here. You've got the AG saying that this is invalid, it needs to be voided, and then there's others who say this is going to stand. So what's the answer from our legal opinion here, Chris?
Well, before we begin, I have to acknowledge that we are enjoying the spoils of victory here in the studio this morning. Nate Griffin paying off on his flawed Super Bowl prediction, and the old man won. And so we're in here enjoying some nice donuts at Nate's expense. I want to thank Nate for that.
Love it.
Look, the issues are really multifaceted here. Your initial question, was the judge out of line? No, we elect judges to make difficult decisions, and a state district judge has the same legal jurisdiction as any other judge to make a constitutional decision. And then the state or whoever the losing party is gets to appeal that. Now, the Texas Supreme Court sometime this year will decide if the judge abused his discretion in ruling that the law was unconstitutional. Abuse of discretion is a legal standard. It doesn't mean the judge was out of line. It's two different things. But we're going to see where this goes. The interesting issue is going to be if, this was granted because one of these ladies is dying of cancer. And so really what we were talking about, what happens if she dies before the Supreme Court rules? Then you have to go into the estate courts and decide in probate matters how this is going to play out. It's a very interesting question that doesn't necessarily, Jackie Bally, affect the general status of the law in Texas. I think it's going to be limited to these two ladies.
So a Travis County judge abuses his power and goes against...
Abuse of discretion is not abuse of power.
Abuses his power and goes against the leaders in Texas. Shocker. Look, we have a law in place, and the Supreme Court is going to look at the legality of this law sometime in the spring, but there is a law. 72% of our voters agree with that, and no matter where you are on this particular topic, even the gay community, that when they want to get married, they will go outside of the state because in our state it is not yet legal. So the fact that these two women, and of course everyone has empathy for this woman who's suffering from cancer, but because of what this judge has done, he has totally made everything very muddled. Everyone's very confused, and yes, he did abuse his power.
Okay, it's not abuse of power, it's abuse of discretion
well,
standard,
that's my opinion, and I think this is, like you said, the Supreme Court is going to look at it.
Right, and that's what the Supreme Court
and
gets to do,
And you're not the
Mustafa,
Supreme Court. We don't know what they're going to say.
That's what they get to do, right?
But that's what they get to do. Look, I think we can, it's an emotionally charged issue. People are always going to argue about this on both sides. But both the law, and if you look at what Supreme Court decisions have been in the past in similar types of cases when it comes to gay marriage, and where they're headed in their opinions, looks like that, we're going to be in a place where we're going to have gay marriage. And so I don't know what the entire conservative base is going to do, because every time something happens, they seem to jump out of their skin on this issue. And the country, the public opinion has moved, and the law has moved. And we're spending millions of dollars in Texas litigating these type of issues, whether it's abortion rights, whether it's gay rights, all of these things continue to come back at the taxpayer's expense.
But what about this, Mustafa? And typically you see in situations like this when a judge is going to declare something unconstitutional, he stays his order long enough for the losing party to appeal it to prevent the rush to the courthouse that typically happens and almost happened here. What would be wrong with that?
Well, I think this is proper legal process. He was looking at a particular case that was in front of him. After he adjudicated in this, they asked for the marriage license. It was his right to be able to give it. Now the Supreme Court's going to look at it, but the Supreme Court is a highly politicized body. I mean, they're elected statewide out of Republican primaries, so we don't know exactly what's going to happen, but eventually it's going to end up in the Supreme Court. And I do know, and most scholars do know, that when it goes to the Supreme Court, that gay marriage is going to be a law.
Well, the U.S. Supreme Court, but the Texas Supreme Court's probably going to overturn this order.
Elected body.
Right, and right, again, right now, it is the law, the letter of the law, and it's not just Republicans. I think, again, you see our gay community, when they want to get married, they go outside of the state because they respect our laws. And the fact that this is still the law until the spring, until the Supreme Court votes otherwise, the judge, including this judge in Travis County, needs to respect the law.
Well, so you think a state district judge doesn't have the jurisdiction to rule on a case in front of him?
That's not what I said.
Well, that is what you
I
said.
No, I said he abused his power with his ruling. There's a difference.
Is it a respect for the law to force someone to go out of state to get married?
No, and look, we're going to argue about this over and over again. At the end of the day, if you're standing in front of the judge has its constitutional authority to make decisions. That's why you go in front of the judge. Then you have appellate courts and you have Supreme Courts where things get appealed. So you can't ask a judge in his authority when he makes a decision that he's doing something illegal. He is the judge by definition, so he can adjudicate.
It's an abuse of power. There's a big difference.